Dr. Jazz.
Well, this whole area where we kind of move around in music is it's a world of its own,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's not even about attention in the end, It's
It's
just
about
that you
creative, yeah.
that you just do it and
True.
survive.
Yeah, true. I agree. No,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean. It's like it's people talk about all these magazines, whatever,
Mm.
pushing certain scenes and
Yeah.
artists, which is it's
It's
great. They're
awesome.
amazing musicians, everyone. That's not even a question. But there is so much more. That's what I mean. And it's been done like under the radar in a way, if I put it like that. And I love to discover these stories. Like it's for me, that's so important. I'm the same. I'm playing this creative music and improvised stuff, and of course we know how it is. So. But Wolfgang, I want to start somewhere. You're in Klagenfurt, where basically you're from, right?
Yes, and I was so far away over the years.
I know.
Somehow I came back.
Yeah.
No, because of the family situation,
Yeah.
and altogether, if I have to work, I have to go away anyway, and then most of the time I'm just do between Vienna and here.
Yeah. No, but I wanted to ask you this because I talked to so many guys about the European scene in the UK or in Paris or the New York scene. I'm very familiar with those, but I wanted to ask you, let's say, Austrian creative scene when you were a teenager in the beginning of the 70s. How was that like for you? If you jump in there, like how did you discover this creative music, and what were the first records, I guess, or concerts you saw that you decided to do that?
I didn't really discover anything. It just happened. You kind of only in retrospect you kind of realize that you were part of a certain thing, which when you're actually in it, you don't realize. You're just trying to do the stuff and see that you can that you can hang in there and make a living and all that stuff, and when I started out, it was, I wouldn't say that there was not a creative scene yet as you mean it, that developed later. Actually, a part of it was the whole thing, and all these people that I met and that I had to do with, especially when the Vienna Art Orchestra was founded.
Sure. Yeah.
And that was also born out of need, actually, because in my time when I was a youngster and being in Vienna, the older generation, they did not communicate with the younger ones. They had their thing, and they did this, and they wouldn't somehow let you in. There were only very few guys who you could talk to, or and there were no gigs, there were no jobs, and we were young and strong, and we wanted to do something, and so you kind of have to create your own. Nowadays it would be called bubble,
Yeah. Sure.
So and that's what happened, actually, because and this whole thing, how the Vienna Art Orchestra started, was born out of that situation, that there were a lot of young musicians who tried to do something and couldn't really get. There was no scene yet in this. So somehow, of course, you come together and you try to establish something, or at least you try to put your ideas into reality, musically speaking. And so we kind of wrote it together, and since there was no chance or any support from anywhere, we just had to try to create our own playground, more or less.
Yeah. But how did that happen? How did it happen with Vienna Art? Did you guys how did all these
actually, it's a long story, making short.
Oh, please.
It started out because there was a place in Vienna. It was like not a bar, but like an inn. There was food there and drinks, and like the typical 70s, slightly shady and not elegant, and young people hung out there, and then they started to doing live music there, So that was one of my first real gigs, because I started to play there in duo with the piano player Uli Scherer, and we played that. We didn't get paid, but we could always go and eat for free.
Oh, well, that's something. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so that made a lot of sense for us. So, and then we played there, and then, people come, all these young people, and then they hear this, and then they tell somebody else. And then more musicians started to do stuff there. I mean, it was not in a big thing, it was not a big place, but there was a piano, and, and then also Matthias Ruerg, he was there then, and he played as a bar pianist,
Okay.
So, and this is where we met, where I met him. And then he approached me, and he said he would like to do a duet with me, because he heard me play with Uli Scherer. And if I would do that, I said, yeah, sure. You want to get any chance for playing, So he said, okay, then let's meet again, and I show you some music. And so he did. He came to my place. I went to his place, and we were talking. And but there was no established gig yet, yeah. So, and then I said, and because of there were so many young musicians that had no chance to play, I said, yeah, I know this guy. He's a violin player, and he's very good. Can he join? So we are a trio. He said, oh, it's good that you need, because I know this percussionist. So then we can add him too. So, and then the gig was in about 1 month. And during this month, all of a sudden, when we played the gig, the first one, there were 20 people on stage. Because every time we met again, somebody said, this guy, this is a friend of mine, and he would like to play too. And it added up and added up. And then we played in this other place called Jazz Kitties, which was also like a spelunke in the first district, but it was always open until 4 o'clock in the morning, and there were also sessions going on, this kind of stuff. And this is where the first concert happened. And after that, this whole story developed in a certain way. Then, we were kind of an anarchy band, yeah. And then we played open air concerts in the park, just running around, And then we had then a bunch of people stayed in this group, and then we did. Matthias established to get a couple of gigs in Switzerland.
That's how the head art connection happened.
Wow, okay. International, we go to Switzerland. And that's what we did. But after that, and this tour was a disaster.
In what sense?
In every aspect. So when we came back, the band kind of dissolved, And Matthias was like, really, I said, and a lot of people said, no, I don't want to play anymore, and this. And I said, and I decided, no, I stay. I want to, because I like this kind of vibe. That when we played, what was happening. So I stayed, and only a couple of others, and then there was a new personal setup arranged, and then we went on with this. And from there on, you know, there were concerts now and then, and we always came together. And it was also, of course, friendship, because we didn't meet only for playing. Of course, you know, you have to complain to each other that everything is so hard, and which it was, you know. But at least it's comforting to have people who are on the same level. You know?
Yeah.
So, and you know, then over the time it developed, and then what kind of gave it a kick was our first like real international concert in Zurich at the Jazz Festival as a formation. And it must have been sensational, you know, because there was a lot of praise and, you know, everything, and a live recording. So that gave us some attention for the outside world. And then slowly it went better and better over the years.
Yeah, because, you know, those first records, that the piccolo and the suite and the Eric Satie stuff, and
exactly, yeah.
It's how did this connection with Hat Art happen? I mean, because those records, especially the Hat Art, I think that pushed the trillion.
Hat Art is a Swiss label.
Swiss, yeah.
Werner Uehlinger, and Matthias got into contact with him and kind of made a deal and everything, you know. And then over the time, of course, Matthias kind of developed into the head of this whole formation, you know, because in the beginning it was just like, as I said, anarchy, and then it was like a wild bunch of individualists, you know, each crazy in his own way. But he was the one who kind of tried to keep it together, you know, and put some kind of structure to it, you know. Then he developed to be better and better at it, you know. And then, of course, you know, after a while, it was really him. It was his baby, and he really organized and checked everything, which he was a really great talent. Because one time in Vienna, he met one of his idols, Gil Evans.
Oh man, wow!
And they talked, and then they met again and talked, and Matthias just wanted to hear, you know, how can I make this better on the music and this? And then he said at the last meeting, Gil Evans said, "Matthias, I want you to be my manager." So that kind of was a little bit, it was not disappointing, but it was like back to reality. You know? Yeah, that was a funny story.
Amazing. Yeah, because I mean, Vienna Art Orchestra, the way I see it, was one of the first really big export products of creative Austrian music, I would say, in Europe, right?
Then we went everywhere, you know. Yeah. We toured. We were in India at the Bombay Festival. And
really?
India, Thailand.
Wow.
Then we had the tour in the United States and Europe, everywhere. You know. Yeah, that was at that time. That was kind of. But I don't know. For me personally, I did not have the feeling of wow, now it's really now I'm, you know, that's it now. Yeah, it was always just for me the music was actually the thing. If I played here or there, it to me it didn't really make a big difference, you know. Yeah, that was it. And then also I started to do other stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Airmail.
Airmail, yeah. Airmail actually was quite at the same time, because on one tour, the guitar player Harry Pepl,
man, yeah, he was so good,
who played in duo with the vibraphone player Werner Pirchner, they were in the band for this tour.
Oh, okay.
They were for one tour. They played with the art orchestra, and in the program at the time, I had a duo with Heiri, and we always had a lot of fun. And after the tour, of course, because he was a little older, he was older, and he said, "Yeah, we should keep in contact. Maybe we should play again. That was fun, you know." So out of this came Airmail.
And how did Mike Richmond come into the play?
Mike Richmond came into the picture because we did a couple of concerts in New York, which was a cultural exchange, Austria, New York, or Vienna, New York, and this is where we met him, and because he just played in one formation which was mixed up. This is where we met him, and then we liked it very much. There was a different band then that we were there. It was, he played in this. It was drums, bass, and 2 saxophones.
Oh wow!
And we recorded that. Mike checked this. He had a friend. We recorded in his living room, and that was fun. And then when we really did airmail, we came up with the proposition to Heiri and said, "Yeah, let's try Mike," you know. And then he came over.
Oh wow!
And played for the rest of the time.
Yeah. So it was such a incredible group. Like there's on YouTube this footage, this tune, man, and you guys you're killing it on the saxophone, like.
Nah, Heiri was a monster, you know. Heiri, guitar wise, and then after when the band didn't even play anymore, when I met sometimes I met American musicians, because they always asked me about this band. That was interesting, because at the time I didn't realize that it has some, you know, that it kind of spreads out. But as you know, the music world is not that big, you know.
Sure.
And among the musicians, you hear information, you know. We were actually, I think it was 7 years that we played together.
I thought it was like only 2, 3. Okay.
No, it was longer.
Wow. Yeah, it's like one of those bands that even if you listen to the music now, it sounds really fresh and energetic. It's not like
interesting,
time bound in a way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Very nice to hear that. I mean, you know, it's so cool that you were already.
Yeah, and it was also interesting because at the time, you know, Heiri had his a very clear idea of how he wanted things to sound that he came up with, and he wanted to have unison, but not like unison.
Kind of rubato-ish,
You have to play like we stretch the time, and you know, it's not exact, but it still has to be together. And then one of the first rehearsals, he came up with some music and he gave me some sheets. And at that time, I was still really good at sight reading and everything, you know, this at that time. And I said, Heiri, the way you play it and what's written here has nothing to do with each other. If you want to have it like you told me, you have to play it so many times for me that I can learn it by heart. And this is how we did it then. We didn't use written music anymore. And then, you know, over time, of course, it's like learning a language, his language. Yeah. So, you know, and also the way the songs and the themes and everything stays in your mind is different than when you learn it from written stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Because some of this stuff I could still play today, you know. And over the time, you know, of course, it kind of grew together, and we were able to play stuff that was probably I didn't see it like this or feel it like this. It was natural, you know, but for people outside, it must have been, wow, how can this be, you know? And you don't have to give cues and anything. But that's a nice thing about a band that stays together for a longer time.
Yeah.
It's you can't do it consciously, but something develops that of course is unique then for the people who are involved in this. It has a certain vibe, and it has a certain kind of expression. You know.
No, I love how you guys play together. When I listen to it, I mean, of course, it's different instrument, but it's kind of like, you know, Ornette and Don Cherry, kind of this.
Yeah.
It's together, but it's also not in a way, you know. It's so beautiful.
It took about 1 or 2 years to get to that point, you know. Because I remember then Heiri did a project where he invited Dave Liebman, and they recorded it, and then there was supposed to be a live concert, and Liebman told me, it's better if you do it. For me, this is too hard. I would have to practice a lot, you know, with this. Because of course I knew Heiri and I knew his language.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Of course, then it's different, you know.
Yeah, sure. No, beautiful. Yeah, I love that band. Still now, like I said, it's you listen to the music. It's I especially love when you see the videos, because you guys, you know, to have this intensity you guys obviously had on the stage.
Yeah, Heiri was always, you know, that actually was what kind of the other side of the coin, because he was always so already before the concert, 2 hours before, he was already, you know, in the concert. And at the concert, he kind of wanted to tear down the sky, you know. And after that, it took him forever to kind of come back to reality and calm down. And in the end, you know, it was really tragic, because he wasn't allowed to play guitar anymore, because his blood pressure, as soon as he approached the guitar, got so high. And then he had a stroke, you know. And then he was fit again, and then he went on like this, and then he had another stroke.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he saw that he can do it like this, which it's really strange.
Yeah.
But I think it was just he was just like a fusion reactor when he came to that. And he was very strict. He had very strict imagination of how he wants things to sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was very critical and you know, very.
But that's good. You know, he's one, for me, if I look at it, one of the most underrated guitarists. You know, it's like there are some figures like that still in, like Mark Dupré, for instance. You know, someone like that. Oh
man, like, that always everywhere in the world you have these people, these musicians. Because I will also remember a thing that Steve Swallow told me when we were talking about jazz and this, because he's a living compendium, you know. I think and he said, you know, Wolfie, he said, the history of this music is not what you read in the books.
Yeah.
So, of course, there's so many numerous people who we don't know about, who did great things and had influence on others that became more famous. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that's
how it is. Yeah. Sure. That's how it is.
How it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah. But Wolfgang, you mentioned Steve Swallow now, and I wanted to ask you about, you know, Steve and Carla, of course. How did your connection with Carla begin, actually? Like already in the 80s, or when was this first step?
Yeah, it was in the 80s. It happened like this, that on one tour with the Art Orchestra, Matthias came, addressed the musicians and said that Carla needed musicians from Europe once, and that she needs 2 tenors and 2 trumpets. So I was alto player. I wasn't really, you know, and I was happy for the guys. And I said, yeah, I didn't really know, you know, to the full extent who she was, to be honest, you know. I was too young or too, I don't know. And yeah, they're gonna join this tour that she does, because at the time she had the concept, it was too expensive to bring a big over. So she took the rhythm section and filled it up with musicians from Europe. So this helped the 2 tenors and the 2 trumpet players got into it. And it was a recommendation of Bob Stewart.
Ah, wow, okay.
Who was playing it in her band at the time, and he recommended the guys from the Art Orchestra.
Oh, wow.
So for me, this was done okay. I was happy for the guys, you know. I wasn't jealous, nothing, you know. I was in my own world. And then later, I don't know, a month later or so, all of a sudden, Matthias told me, yeah, Carla, she checked out the recordings, Art Orchestra recordings, and you're supposed to come to at the time, I don't know, there was later I found out the problems with the alto player then, which is not important here. So I said, okay, you know, and I remember I had to go down to Italy. I went from Carinthia down to Italy to meet all the people, and I wasn't in anything. I was not excited. I was not, you know. I said, okay, they are all famous musicians, and yeah, let's see. And I thought to myself, well, if I don't come up with the goods, or if I'm not good enough, they're gonna send me back, and it's gonna be an experience, you know. So I had no stress at all, yeah. Oh. And I came down there, and I met her somewhere at the airport in Rome, I think. And I wasn't shy, you know, so I kind of made fun with her, because I acted like what is it called? You know,
pantomime, kind of. Okay.
Yeah, pantomime. Yeah. And she thought it was funny, because she told me later, yeah, I was expecting an Austrian guy with lederhosen and this hat on, you know, and then this strange boy comes up, you know. But she's very special and good humor. So then I was in Italy, and I was, yeah, okay, fine, you know. Then the first day rehearsal, everything was okay. And then in the night to the next, she noted my hotel room, and I said, oh, hi. And she gave me a cassette and music. And she said, yeah, I planned to play this piece, which is a feature for alto. So look at it, and you have the tape to listen to. If you think it's too hard, I give you something else, which is more easy. So I said, yeah, okay. I checked it. It was a Kurt Weill song, Lost in the Stars. And I didn't know it before, but I listened to it, and I liked the song very much. Yeah. And on the tape there was a alto player, which I thought, wow, that sounds great, you know. So I said, yeah, okay, I'm going to try it. And then next day at the rehearsal, it was put up. So we're rehearsing with all the guys, you know. I start to play. I look, and she was playing Hammond then, because piano was Larry Willis.
Yeah.
And you know, kind of halfway into the song, I looked at her. I was playing. I looked at her, and she was going like. So I knew, okay, it's accepted, you know.
That's a good sign, yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, because at that time for European jazz guys, you know, the Americans, they were more like, you know, either you ship them to death, or it's a mystery, or say, yeah, they come and they take away our gigs, and, you know, all that kind of preconceived concepts, which make no sense, but they are there. So, and there was, and for me, it was so interesting, because all the guys from her band, Larry Willis and Steve and Hiram Bullock, they all came up to me and say, "Yeah, man, you're a good player," and this. And then I didn't believe it first. I thought, they just, you know, try to be friendly. That's their way, you know. It's not. But then, I was wrong, because I stayed then for the next 15 years. You know?
Wow, yeah, incredible.
Yeah. And Steve was a special guy in this, also Carla, because he was like, he was a little bit a mentor to me, you know.
Yeah, you seem to have a good relationship with Steve, right? Developed through years.
Oh yeah. I was one of the very few people who were allowed to stay at Carla's house.
Oh wow, man, that's beautiful.
Yeah, because I talked to Bobby Previtt once, and he said, "What? You stayed there?" Because she is peculiar. Which is, it's her right to be, you know.
Yeah, sure.
But I always had a lovable connection to her from the beginning, because I had I didn't see her as a jazz figure or something, but I saw her as a person, and so I was never stressed, you know, because I knew that, because she was, you know, when it came to music stuff, she was really, you know, if she didn't like anything, they said no.
Oh really? Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I never had I just loved her, and she liked me too, and you know, so I don't know. I never really thought about it. Well, many years later, one time I asked her, Carla, why there's so many great sax players over there, you know? Why do you call me? Well, she said, sometimes she said, I didn't think that a boy from Klagenfurt can play. And I said, why are you getting me for these tours? And because there's so many that sounds great, you know. And she said very simple, because you're a Wolfie.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, and because I think that's one of the fundamental things in this music, that in the end it doesn't have to do with virtuosity, or it's something else which you don't have a recipe, you know. Because nowadays sometimes I have the feeling with some of the younger guys, they think like, if I do this and this, if I study this, I can play this pattern very fast, and this and this and this, then that's it, you know. It never sums up, you know. That's the great thing about music. There is no recipe. There are certain things you don't have control over. Thank God.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Especially improvised context. I mean, that's another world. Yeah. I mean, she called you like, you know, the big band stuff. Of course, it's a large ensemble, but even for the smaller records, like 4x4, that one.
Yeah.
Man, that's such an amazing record.
She said in an interview, "I'm gonna take him wherever I have to go. I'm not." And she was so, oh man, I love her. Then there was one time, it was not many concerts, but I couldn't do it because of something else, which was hard. And she wrote me a letter, and the letter was just, she drew a heart that was broken in the middle, you know. That's what she wrote. "I promise you, I will replace you with somebody who can't play."
That's beautiful.
I still have that letter.
Oh man, yeah.
But see, in Austria, I didn't. It didn't really kind of. It wasn't really received. So aware where I go and what I do, you know. With this stuff, you know. Only later a little bit, and I never felt like I have to go and say, yeah, you know, I'm blah 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 blah. This for me, no. But I always enjoyed, because and there was a lot of fun, because then in the end I was the only originally German-speaking guy left, you know, because then she always got this, because one of the organizational guys sat in London. There were always English musicians.
Yeah, I know Julian played with her.
Yeah, Julian played, you know, and a lot of guys. And she then had this concept. She had her rhythm section, her soloists, which then stayed the same. That was Lou Soloff, Gary Valente, Andy Shepard, and me. These were her soloists, and then she got the other ones, musicians from Great Britain. Yeah. It was fun. Yeah.
How was it like for you? Like you said, a boy from Klagenfurt, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's Victor Lewis, Don Elias, and Lou Soloff, and all these guys around you. Like,
yeah, but I don't know. I didn't really see it like that. No, I just tried to be the best I could, you know. I was never hung up on this, that you didn't play with people that before you only knew from records.
Sure.
Because they were people too.
Yeah, of course. I mean, but still.
And then, you know, with some of them, you develop a certain kind of friendship too. You know, even with Lou, you know, which could be really a nerve-wracking person sometimes. But still, you know, you just, you know, it was great. One of and Gary was a friend of mine, and also Andy.
Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. Beautiful that you got to experience that. I mean, it's
yeah, and this is something that you know you can never get paid that much. Otherwise, this is priceless. You know,
yeah,
just the experience is priceless,
yeah,
and it gives you a different kind of wealth.
yeah,
You know,
definitely.
nobody else realizes. You don't have to boast. You don't have nothing, but it's there. You know, that's yeah.
Yeah. Wolfgang, how did Grey happen? That record. I love that record, by the way, because it's like so sparse. It's basically you.
Yeah, it had a very good review in the New York jazz magazine, Downbeat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
And
Yeah.
also in England, it had very good reviews, which I wasn't aware of only later. This happened because I did a production for this label before that. And then they said, yeah, why don't you do another one? Maybe you can get some international musicians, you know. Of course, that would help sell or whatever.
Sure.
And then I was thinking, and Steve always had told me, if you need something, if you want, you know, ask me. I will try to play. Yeah. And yeah, that's what I did. And originally, I wanted to do just a trio: drums, bass, saxophone. And then I was thinking, and of course, because I knew Don from the tours with Carla, sure. So I thought maybe percussion would be nice too, instead of piano, you know. And then, you know, I had other people in mind too, but they were the first ones who reacted.
Yeah.
Steve was clear, but Victor and Don were the first ones to react and said, yeah, okay, let's do it. You know?
Beautiful.
So yeah, that's how it came together. Yeah, that was fun too, because of course, you know, they are monsters, you know.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's such a great record. It's really a beautiful record, especially because there's no harmonic instrument. I love that.
Yeah. Now for me it was really, and Steve always he wants to be like really, you know, not the smallest thing that he wants to know, you know. So I was actually I was there for a couple of days at Carla's house with him, and we practiced every day for the tunes.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah. Wow.
So then when he came, he you know, he had it down, you know. And the other ones, you know, they were nice too, Victor and Don, you know, when they came, they said, yeah, man, we came here to back you up, you know. And that's what they did.
Yeah.
Because that was the great thing. I didn't have to think about anything. I just could play, you know.
Yeah.
And they were always there to catch me one way or the other, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you have Steve and Victor.
It's a luxury. Yeah. It's a luxury.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, all these records you've done as a band leader, there's another connection also that I wanted to ask you with another great bass player, Jamaaladeen, Tacuma. And how did that one happen? I mean, because with Steve, I figured out through Carla, but how did the story with Jamaaladeen begin?
Jamaaladeen is a special case because actually we're the same age. We're just a week apart from the birthdays.
Ah, that's why Gemini. Okay. Now I get it. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And actually, the first time I heard him was on record. I was in New York at the time, and I brought back a big bag full of vinyls. At the time, there was still vinyl big. And one of them was a record called Captain Black, which was James Scott Almer's first record.
Yeah.
And it was Almer, it was Ornette Coleman, Denardo Coleman, and Jamaaladeen, which then I think he was still Rudy McDaniel. I'm not sure. I have to look at it. And then I heard it. And this is, for instance, this is a record that when I played it to colleagues, other musicians, it makes a complete division. There is no middle ground. Either they hate it or they like it. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, but it's okay. And then when I heard the way he played the bass, I said, "Wow, this sounds different to me. I like this, you know. And that was that. And then I had the chance to do a concert at Saalfelden Jazz Festival, and I had a white card, a carte blanche. I could put together anything I wanted, and then I was thinking maybe I should try to get Jamaaladeen. You know, I wasn't sure. I thought he will never come or whatever, you know. So and I wasn't sure about it. And at that time, my first wife, Linda, I talked to her about this, and she said, just call him up. So that's what I did, not considering the time difference between Austria and Philadelphia.
Oh, shit.
So I woke him up in the middle of the night. But he was still so nice, you know. And he said, yeah, okay, we can do that. So that's how it happened. And for this project he came, and when I picked him up at the airport, it was quite a picture because he just came back from his Hajj, you know, beard, all the outfit, everything, you know, he really stuck out. And so he came, and then we did, and at that time, there was a nice drummer too, Farron Arclaf.
Oh man, I love this guy. Yeah, such an underrated guy. Yeah, I love Farron.
Yeah, he was there too. And they, of course, they hung together, the brothers, and they called themselves the Billa Boys because they always went to Billa to shop. So that was the first time, and it was fun, you know. And then the next time, exactly when I did my first record with the duos, I called him up and said, if
Pieces of the Dream, you mean that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I called him and said if he would play a song with me. He said, yeah, sure. And I had to go to the States anyway because for the arm musicians, I recorded with Carla, with Steve, with Hiram Bullock. And I went to Philly to his house that he lived in at the time, and we did the recording. And I didn't think of anything else. And then later, he called me up and he said, I'm doing a tour in Europe. I want you to be in my band. I said, okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. Amazing.
Yeah, and that was interesting. I did this tour with him here in Europe. And that was the first time that I was the minority, you know? So, I did that. And then I also did a couple of gigs with him in the States with his band.
Oh, wow. I didn't know.
And then the connection stayed. And then, you know, I asked him to join this project with the Koreans, and then we did Gemini. And, you know, over the years, it kind of...
He was on Alpine Aspects as well, right?
He was there too, yeah.
How did he react to that project, by the way? I wanted to ask you that.
He liked it.
Yeah?
He really liked it because, you know, then they gave him the outfit that they wear as the Blasmusik, you know. So he kept the hat, you know, and then he had the stick. He was fooling around with this stick. He was really fun. Now that was very amusing to me because I couldn't be sure if this idea works, of course, you know. So they did their stuff. They rehearsed separately from us, from the rhythm section, and because the chef of the thing, he was a friend of mine from our student days. Yeah, they did, and then we kind of checked the stuff out. And then when we first came together, that was so funny because they looked at us like we came from Mars or something, you know. And for us, of course, it was weird too, you know. But you know, it worked. And everybody then, you know, they really liked it because, of course, it was fun. You know, because it was so crazy, you know, to have these things. And like with guys like Jamal, he's such a total musician. It doesn't matter, you know, what style and this has to be like this and this and this. You try to make music. And you try to make the best possible and make music out of any kind of situation. That was we had a lot of fun.
That was such a courageous record, I think.
I didn't think of it at the time. Only I got some reactions later. Who like, are you completely nuts now? What are you trying to do with this? And this makes no sense. And all this. But I liked it because when we played and it was together, I of course I felt, of course it makes sense because everybody, we are in it.
Yeah. How did you feel then, like being a band leader on that? I mean, it's a huge responsibility, that record, or even.
Yeah, but see, I never considered myself to be like a band leader, like, and then you tell the guys or anybody what to do and this and this. I always saw myself more as a what's the term? Somebody who sets something in motion. I want to set it in motion, but I don't have to control it to the last bit, because a lot of stuff happens sometimes if you don't have a concept that has to be fulfilled, that you leave it open and don't control everything. And if you have good musicians and you let them be, you will get much more out of the whole thing than if you tell them exactly what to do.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Because otherwise you don't need like great musicians, Then you get people who are used to, they just
exactly
you tell them,
Yeah, exactly.
But for me, it's less fun.
No, sure. I love that with your music. I mean, I love that also when I make records. If you have a great drummer, if you have Tom Rainey or Gerald Cleaver or whoever on drums, you will not tell them what to play. It's just like there you are.
The only time, which was interesting, when I did this production in Philadelphia in the studio, Mixed Metaphors, and Questlove was playing.
Really?
He was very young then. He was just, they just started out with the roots,
Yeah.
And in the studio, and there was one song when he came up with a certain thing, and I said, I would like to have it like this, and then he did it like this, and then only later I said, shit, I should have left what he came up with. So that showed me again, Yes.
Yeah. But I also, Wolfgang, I wanted to ask you about this one record, speaking of openness, with Mark Feldman.
Mark.
How does Mark come into this equation? Because
Mark is another favorite of mine. Oh man, Mark. Yeah, I met him first in Germany at a production in Baden-Baden when they had these jazz sessions which were recorded and sometimes CDs. And he was there at this production with Kip Hanrahan, I think was there too. There was it. And then also at another one. So it was 2 times I met him. And I liked his playing and we had a good understanding. And then I met him again in Southern. They just put us together as a duo for a certain thing, where they have duos.
Yeah.
And we did this duo and it was so easy to play together. So then, we thought about, we said, maybe we should try another one. So then we did a couple of tours, just the 2 of us.
Oh, wow, amazing.
And here I learned something else. I really had to learn to play soft because a lot of times we played acoustically. And if you really get into it, you don't hear the violin anymore. So this was really was a good lesson for me, to really adapt to situations, because it can just sure. And it was nice, That was just.
Yeah, incredible. So much. It's funny when I messaged you, you answered like, well, I don't know if it's gonna be enough interesting for you to talk about it. And man, it's like so much history you've created in music. It's
I don't know. Really. Of course, for me,
it's like really.
Because I'm always in it, and it's different. Of course, sometimes I think, why should this be interesting to somebody else?
Yeah.
or
No.
whatever.
No, but yeah, beautiful.
And of course, so it's like we're having a nice talk, just the two of us, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, you start to, you know, the association start, of course.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's so beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wolfgang, not to take too much of your time, I just wanted to ask you, you know, I watched on YouTube, there's a lot of footage with some groups you did, like in Pančevo now and in from Cormon's Jazz and Wine. And I wanted to ask you, what are the new projects you're planning, or is there something new?
Yeah, no, it's never, I'm not really a planner. Most of the stuff always came out of knowing certain musicians and that I like the way they are or they play or whatever, you know. And in this case, I mean, John Sass is like a little brother because I know him since 1980.
Wow.
Yeah, and I brought him over for the art orchestra, and then he stayed with me when he came there. And he was still studying in Boston, and after that he came to Austria, and he stayed there because he had enough stuff to play, and so, you know, this developed like it. No, you mean this group in Pančevo?
Yeah.
Originally, I wanted to do a project. This came more from the sound because I was a fan of the sound of Arthur Blythe's group. This was drums, tuba, guitar, cello, saxophone. And I thought, I would love to play with this sound because I'm not going to play like that anyway, you know. And I kept it in mind. It didn't happen immediately, and then at that time, I always wanted to have something, do something with Rick Iannacone, which I knew from a long time anyway. And I thought, yeah, then I can take him as a guitar player, and the rest I have here anyway. This is how it came together. And then in Cormon's was already at the COVID time, you know.
Yeah.
He couldn't come over. And then I took a guitar player from here.
Primus, yeah.
Primus. And then now in Pančevo, you know, it was even more complicated with everything. So we just did it, the four of us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but sounds beautiful. I mean, beautiful music.
Yeah, and the cello is nice, and it mixes well with the alto. And besides this, I mean, I always liked Asia, you know.
Yeah.
And also I have a better understanding of strings now after Mark. And then for the last 3 years, I did on and off stuff with the string quartet. So you know, I have a better understanding of it, and then it's nice to have the cello added. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful color. Beautiful. Cool. Great. Thanks, Wolfgang, for sharing some of these thoughts. So
that was easy.
No, but thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Nice.
You can call me again if it's like this, you know.